I, Zhang Xiaolong, am lying in bed right now, trembling all over. To be precise, the original host's corpse wasn't even cold yet when I transmigrated into it. Outside, a whole room full of women were crying their hearts out. My poor son, how could you leave your mother behind like this? Little brother, wasn't it just that your blind date thought you were too poor? How could you take it so hard? Ninth sister shouldn't have made you go catch fish, whoa. A sharp pain hit my head, and memories came flooding in like a tide. The 60s. The poorest family in the entire village and commune, bar none. I have 9 older sisters above me, and I'm the only precious son born to my parents in their later years. Gluttonous and lazy, loafing around all day, a notorious hoodlum throughout the whole commune. As for the cause of death, his blind date looked down on his family's poverty, didn't even agree to meet him, and on the way back he fell into the river and drowned. With mental fortitude like that, no wonder the transmigration slot fell to me. It took me a huge effort to open my eyes. Mom, help me sit up. 6th sister, 7th sister, 8th sister, 9th sister, I'm so cold. The crying stopped abruptly. Everyone in the room was dumbfounded, staring wide-eyed at me, a person who should have been long dead. Second uncle's expression when he looked at me was especially strange. He was the one who pulled me out of the river, and he was 100% sure I wasn't breathing at the time. Mom and my 4 sisters frantically changed me out of my wet padded cotton clothes. Only then did I realize I had nothing on but a pair of underpants, and I hurriedly stopped them. Mom, sis, I'll do it myself. I'm 16 already. You child, you're a piece of your mother's own flesh, and now you're shy. Oh my, out, quickly. After pushing everyone out the door, I leaned against the earthen wall and let out a long breath. Cold, damn cold. The northwest wind poured in through the cracks in the wall, and the cotton stuffing in the ragged quilt had all clumped into hard lumps, like covering myself with a sheet of iron. This one set of padded cotton clothes is all I have on me, with 7 or 8 patches from top to bottom. Once it's soaked through, there's nothing to change into. In my previous life, at least I had heating and down jackets. This lousy place doesn't even have a hot water bottle. Curled up in the quilt, my teeth chattering from the cold, I suddenly remembered something. I died because some unidentified object hit me in the head. That thing seemed to be a pagoda-shaped object. I reached up and touched my head, and my whole body froze on the spot. In my mind, an antique-looking pagoda stood there upright and proper. Wasn't that the very thing that killed me? It transmigrated here with me too. I cautiously focused my mind and darted inside. The scene before my eyes changed instantly. The space wasn't big, about 1 mu in size. Right in the middle was a spiritual herb field, with a wooden sign beside it carved with the words Level 1 Spiritual Herb Field. Directly ahead, a 30-meter-high waterfall poured down from midair, the water seeming to flow down from the second level of the space. Beneath the waterfall was a pool 9 meters square, so deep the bottom couldn't be seen. The entire air here carried an indescribably comfortable feeling. Every breath felt like giving my lungs a SBA. The spiritual energy was so dense, it was almost tangible. One sniff was enough to make a person feel light and blissful. Bare-chested, I walked to the edge of the pool, crouched down, and scooped up a handful of water. I gulped it down in one go, and a warm current shot down my throat straight to my dantian, then exploded outward toward my limbs and every part of my body. The blood vessels frozen stiff throughout my body seemed to open up in an instant, and every cell was cheering with joy. My hands and feet, which hadn't been warm for a moment since transmigrating here, were fully warmed up within 3 seconds. Good stuff. This is the standard treatment for a transmigrator. Before I could continue exploring, 9th sister's voice came from outside. Little brother, are you done changing? Sis is coming in. I quickly slipped out of the space and dove back under the covers. 9th sister lifted the ragged cloth curtain and came in. She tossed me a few old clothes. Put this on. It'll keep you a bit warmer. Where are Mom and 6th sister and the others? They went to work. Mom told me to stay and watch you, afraid you'd run off to mess around and slack off again. 9th sister stared at me for quite a while and muttered, "You seem a little different from before." How could I be the same? That original owner, the kind who had clothes handed to him and food served to his mouth. With all 9 sisters taking turns waiting on him. Nearly 16 years old, and he couldn't even dress himself. Now that I'm putting on my own clothes, of course she'd find it strange. 9th sister, do you think things are better now or before? Now is still a bit better, at least you can dress yourself. Doesn't that settle it? Before we finished talking, there was another commotion outside. Second uncle came carrying grandma on his back, followed by grandpa and second aunt. Grandma had been bedridden for years. When she heard something had happened to me, She insisted that second uncle carry her over. Trembling, the old lady fished out a tightly wrapped handkerchief bundle from the innermost pocket sewn into her cotton coat. 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, and at last a golden persimmon cake was revealed. The smell rushed straight into my nose, and my stomach let out 2 embarrassing growls. Good grandson, eat up. Grandma doesn't like sweets. This persimmon cake was brought back by your aunt in the city last time, 4 pieces in total. The first 3 all went into the original owner's stomach. This is the last one. The old lady couldn't bear to eat it herself and had kept it tucked against her chest the whole time. My heart tightened. Grandma, I'm really not hungry. Second uncle, please hurry and carry Grandma back to rest. It's cold and the road is slippery. Second aunt, please hurry to the canteen and get food. If you're any later, you'll only be able to drink the pot rinsing water. The shock in second uncle's eyes was impossible to hide. Just a few days ago, this guy had still been pestering the old lady every day for persimmon cake. And today he actually gave it up? Did the sun rise in the west? After finally seeing everyone off, I sent Jufing away to get food too and locked the door from the inside. I slipped into the space in a flash and headed straight for the spirit herb field. This field is a spirit herb field. I wonder if ordinary crops can be grown in it. Right now the urgent thing is to get some seeds and test the waters. I looked around for quite a while, but there was nothing there except the field and the pool. I didn't want to go up to the second floor and take a look, but after searching all over the first floor, I still couldn't find where the stairs were. Forget it, I'll go out and get some seeds first. The moment I pushed open the door, the cold wind rolled ice chips down my neck. I didn't shiver. The spirit pool water I'd just drunk was still giving off residual warmth inside my body, making all my limbs and bones feel toasty. To me, this temperature of a little over 10 degrees below zero felt about the same as spring. The Zhang family was absurdly poor. Their 3 shabby houses made of packed earth stood lonely at the foot of the mountain, with the nearest neighbor 2 li away. That was actually a good thing. It was so remote that it was hard for anyone to notice whatever you did. If second uncle hadn't happened to pass by that pond where the original owner drowned, no one would have known about the body until tomorrow morning. I circled around the front and back of the house 3 or 4 times. Forget seeds. I didn't even see a single weed. The seed storage was completely empty, not a bit of stock left. This was what poverty at its extreme looked like. Just as I was worrying, the corner of my eye caught sight of a shriveled plant tucked away in a little nook at the bend of the ditch. I moved closer for a look. Goji berry. The leaves had all fallen off, and the branches had been frozen black, but the roots were still alive. Since there were no seeds, using this goji berry sapling to test the waters would do too. The soil by the ditch was frozen as hard as concrete. I scraped away at it laboriously with a shard from a broken bowl for quite a while before I finally dug up the roots intact. I ran home in one go and shut the door. With a thought, the sapling in my hand disappeared and was now lying steadily in the spirit herb field. I can store things remotely. Now that's convenient. I won't have to personally enter and leave the space every time. I dug out the gourd ladle from the kitchen and scooped up a ladle of water. The moment the spirit pool water was poured down, the roots of the goji seedling visibly stretched out, like it was waking up with a big stretch. Ninth sister came back, carrying the food basin. Corn mush, so thin you could see your reflection in it. I scooped 3 spoonfuls and still didn't get a single solid grain. The team leader said we had to eat sparingly. The stored grain wouldn't last until the wheat harvest. Fine, I guess. These days, having anything to eat at all is already not bad. I gulped down 2 bowls in a row and barely managed to feel full with water. Full purely because of the water. Ninth sister, how does our family boil hot water? We don't even have a pot at home. They were all smashed up and taken away for steelmaking. You want hot water? In the original owner's memories, there was no concept of boiling water at all. This guy usually just drank raw water straight from the water jar. I want to bring some hot water to Mom and the others. Working outside in this freezing weather, something hot would warm them up. Ninth sister's eyes even reddened. You've really changed, huh? You actually know to care about Mom now? I gave an awkward laugh and muddled through, then dug out a cracked, battered clay jar and set it up on the earthen stove. The stove was built from adobe bricks, its surface plastered with a mud mix of wheat straw, coated in a grimy black layer of grease. The big pot spot was empty, so I could only lay 2 wooden sticks across it and set the clay jar on top. Would the effect of the spirit pool water be weakened after boiling? I'd have to test it. Once the water boiled, I found a tattered jacket to wrap around the clay jar and jogged all the way to the production team's headquarters. All the women in the whole team were chopping firewood. I found Mom and my sisters in a corner, swinging axes, and poured out half a bowl to hand over. Mom, have some hot water. Lin Xiaojun's hand paused for a moment as she took the bowl. This son of hers was bringing her water for the first time in 16 years. Tastes good. Jufeng too. Honestly, why waste firewood? Mom, I boiled it myself. It has nothing to do with Night's sister. After Lin Xiaojun finished a bowl, she suddenly raised a hand to wipe her forehead. Strange. I've been chopping wood for ages without sweating, but after drinking this bowl of water, I've broken out in sweat all over. Several of my sisters felt the same way too. Me too, my whole body feels warm, and I don't feel cold anymore. Looks like although the effect of the boiled spirit pool water had weakened a little, its core effect was still there. Exactly what I wanted. The effect being too strong would actually be unsafe. This is just right. On the way home, I found the backside of a deserted dirt slope, made sure no one was around, and slipped into the space in a flash. Then I froze on the spot. Less than 2 hours after being planted, the Goji seedling, which had been only calf-high, had shot up to my waist. Lush branches and leaves, with clusters of bright red fruit hanging from the twigs. Each one plump and vivid red, looking ready to drip juice. But that size, I rubbed my eyes hard. How is this Goji? This thing is even a full size bigger than cherries. Even 5J cherries looked puny in front of it. 5J Goji berries. Unprecedented and unmatched. The temptation was too great, and I couldn't resist plucking one. Out of habit, I rubbed it on my clothes, then popped it into my mouth. The moment my teeth bit down lightly, sweet juice burst instantly across my mouth. It melted on contact, the flesh so delicate it was like the finest dessert, completely without that medicinal taste ordinary Goji berries have. So delicious. I picked 7 or 8 more and swallowed them all in no time. I hadn't enjoyed it for even 3 seconds before a ball of blazing fire suddenly rose from my dantian. The flames were so fierce it was like someone had detonated an incendiary bomb inside my stomach, then split into dozens, hundreds of streams of heat that rushed through every meridian in my body at once. It hurt to the core. My meridians split apart from the strain, then repaired themselves, then split apart again, over and over without end. I curled up like a shrimp and rolled on the ground, cold sweat pouring down like rain. Spirit medicine field. This is a level 1 spirit medicine field. How could the Goji grown in this field be anything ordinary? This thing already has the properties of a spirit medicine. Every medicine is part poison. I ate 7 or 8 Goji berries at the spiritual medicine level in one go, and the spiritual energy inside my body immediately ran wild. Half rolling, half crawling, I charged toward the pool and dove in head first. As soon as the icy pool water soaked me, the pain inside my body eased by half a degree. But only by half a degree. That surge of heat was still frantically splitting apart, multiplying more and more. I thrashed harder and harder in the water, my consciousness almost blurring, and before I knew it, I had floundered right beneath the waterfall. The 30-meter-high waterfall crashed down with a roar. By all logic, a skinny little frame like my bag of bones should have been smashed apart on the spot. But TND, no? When the waterfall slammed onto my body, not only did it not hurt, it felt insanely good instead. The rampaging spiritual energy inside me was forcibly suppressed by the waterfall's crushing weight and started flowing properly through my meridians. The pain receded like the tide, replaced by an indescribable sense of comfort. Every meridian in my body was trembling joyfully. I floated on my back in the water, letting the waterfall pound against my upper body. If there were a third-person view right now, I'd probably see the bizarre expression on my face, like I was in the middle of an orgasm. Using a 30-meter waterfall as massage hydrotherapy, who would believe that if I told them? I stayed under the waterfall for a full half hour before the spiritual energy inside my body finally settled down completely. I tried leaving the waterfall, not painful anymore. Not only was it not painful, I even felt my whole body brimming with strength. And my 5 senses were at least twice as sharp as before. After climbing ashore, something even more outrageous happened. My clothes, soaked through all over, began giving off white steam. It was exactly like those peerless martial arts masters in wuxia films using internal force to dry their clothes. In just 3 to 5 minutes, my clothes were completely dry inside and out, without a single drop of water left. Now I believe it. This pagoda is a cheat item on the level of cultivating immortality. Once I caught my breath, I stared at the tree full of 5J Goji berries and fell into deep thought. There's no way I can bring this stuff home. My family are all ordinary people. If they can't withstand the medicinal power and someone dies, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But I can keep the seeds. I picked a Goji berry and crushed it. And inside were densely packed white seeds, several hundred in a single fruit. I divided the spiritual medicine field into several test plots and irrigated them with spiritual pool water diluted at different ratios, wanting to see which concentration was most suitable. Some I watered directly with the undiluted liquid, some mixed with an equal amount of water, and some mixed with 3 times the amount of water. I kept busy until dusk, and all the seeds were finally planted and watered. I put the entire level 1 spiritual medicine field to full use. Standing on the field ridge and looking at the neat furrows, I felt both excited and uneasy. I had already seen the power of a level 1 spiritual medicine field. But could diluted watering control the concentration of spiritual energy in the fruit? By tomorrow morning, what would these newly planted goji berries grow into? Would there be differences in fruit size, medicinal potency, and yield? This was a night destined to be sleepless. I wondered whether by tomorrow morning these goji berries would still be as big as 5J. Leaving the first level of the pagoda space, Zhang Xiaolong flashed out from the dirt slope. The afterglow of the setting sun shining over the land, making the mountain village look as if it were covered in a blush. The scenery really was beautiful. In my previous life, I worked overtime every day. Not only did I make barely any money, I didn't even have time to appreciate scenery like this. Thinking about it now, it was truly unbearably dull. Zhang Xiaolong's steps were light, his body nimble, and walking took almost no effort. This should be the effect of the oversized goji berries. Ahead was a dried-up irrigation ditch. Zhang Xiaolong was suddenly seized by childlike excitement. With a running start, jump. Then his body rose into the air. Holy crap! Is my physical condition really this good now? Zhang Xiaolong landed lightly on the ground, turned around, and looked at the irrigation ditch that was less than 1.5 meters across. Then he looked at where he had landed, more than 5 meters away from where he had jumped. This jumping ability is terrifying. Zhang Xiaolong was overjoyed, and he thought of the only possible reason. It had to be because of the goji berries in the level 1 spirit herb field. My physique has been changed. Ha ha ha! Zhang Xiaolong couldn't help bursting into loud laughter. With no one around, he sprinted and jumped wildly once again. While he was in midair, he tried all kinds of different moves, hanging layups, chain kicks, and so on, having the time of his life. In his previous life, he occasionally played basketball too, but only casually, limited by his physical fitness. He couldn't do a single super cool move. Now, doing them was as easy as turning over his hand. Xiaolong's back. In the courtyard, a man with graying hair and dark skin said with a smile. Zhang Xiaolong nodded out of habit. Dad, why are you back so early today? Zhang Baozhu put down the firewood on his shoulder and let out a long breath. We ran into wolves on the mountain, and the team leader was afraid someone might get killed, so we knocked off early. During this period, the male commune members in the team all went into the mountains to chop firewood, while the female commune members split the wood, with a clear division of labor. Wolves? There haven't been wolves in the back mountain for years. You went deep into the mountains. Zhang Xiaolong placed the wrapped clay jar on the 8 Immortals table and asked nervously. He had been planning to go into the mountains tomorrow to see if he could get some seeds, or mushrooms, medicinal herbs, and the like. Zhang Baozhu untied the rope binding the firewood and warned him sternly. It doesn't count as deep in the mountains, only the edge at most. The back mountain is no longer safe, so from now on you must never go into the mountains to fool around again. Zhang Xiaolong nodded somewhat disappointedly. Got it, Dad. He really wanted to go into the mountains, but compared with his life, things like seeds and medicinal herbs weren't that important. This body now was skinny as a rack of ribs. Even though it had been improved by the goji berries, it was still a long way from being able to kill a wolf. Zhang Xiaolong was not so arrogant as to think he was number 1 under heaven. Zhang Baozhu put away the rope and pulled a lump of something covered in mud from his shirt pocket, then held it out and said, "Take this and roast it before eating." Zhang Xiaolong took it and looked closely. The soft mud had been dried by body heat, and with a light flick it fell away, revealing what was inside. This is a potato? Where did it come from? Dad. Cough, cough, cough. After a violent fit of coughing, Zhang Baozhu caught his breath for a moment, and then said, pulling himself together, I chopped firewood for your Uncle Baoming for 3 days, and traded it for this potato. Zhang Xiaolong stepped forward to support him. Dad, 3 days of work for him in exchange for just 1 potato? That's far too bad a deal. Zhang Baozhu smiled, went into the house, and sat down. I was thinking you're still growing, so you can't go hungry all the time. Besides, the grain in our production team is getting less and less. Being able to trade for 1 potato is already pretty good. But with your health, doing double the work sooner or later will wear you down. So this kid knows how to care about people now? It's New Year, and I've grown another year older. I can't always be a child who never grows up, can I? Ha ha ha, cough cough cough. Good, our Xiaolong has grown up. In a few days, I'll find a matchmaker to arrange a marriage for you. Huh, I'm only 16. Let's talk about that in a few years. I'll go boil some water for you first. The sky gradually grew dark. After the water was boiled, Zhang Xiaolong poured a full cup and carried it into the main room. Dad, drink some hot water to warm yourself up. Zhang Baozhu took the hot water, his honest, simple face glowing with a happy smile. His son had always been the unreliable sort. He hadn't expected him to have changed his ways today. He took a sip of the hot water, and his whole body felt warm and cozy. Dang, 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 the village bell rang. Dad, little brother, the canteen is serving food. Let's go quickly. Zhang Baozhu finished the water in his bowl, got up, and went out. Dad, ninth sister, I don't want to go. Help bring mine back. In this freezing weather, it'll be cold by the time it's brought back. Jufeng muttered something under her breath. Zhang Baozhu knew perfectly well that the child was planning to roast potatoes to eat. Jufeng, let's go. The figures of father and daughter disappeared into the darkness. Zhang Xiaolong eagerly tossed the potato in his hand. This was really incredible luck. Just when he was worrying about not having any seed potatoes, his dad brought one back. There was nothing particularly special about planting potatoes. You just had to cut them open and let them sprout. There were no iron tools at home, so Zhang Xiaolong found a spool of thread and bit off a piece about 20 centimeters long with his teeth. And, like pulling a saw, cut the potato into more than a dozen small pieces that might grow eyes. With a thought, Zhang Xiaolong's body appeared on the first level of the pagoda space. The moment he looked at the spiritual herb field, Zhang Xiaolong was shocked once again. An area about 1 foot of land in size was covered with goji trees. Hanging from the trees were goji berries of all sizes, bright red and plump. Sure enough, it had a certain relationship with the proportion of water from the spiritual pool. The goji berries watered with ordinary river water from the plain water vat grew the smallest. As the proportion of spiritual spring water increased, the goji berries grew larger step by step, and the biggest were the 5J grade ones. Zhang Xiaolong picked a goji berry watered with pure river water. It was about the size of a peanut. Even so, it was about twice as large as ordinary goji berries. This was the effect of a level 1 spiritual herb field. This goji tree wasn't watered with spiritual pool water, yet it still matured in less than 2 hours, which showed that a level 1 spiritual herb field could accelerate plant growth. As for the effect of the spiritual pool water, it had a great deal to do with the size of the fruit. That was equivalent to increasing the crop's yield and size. Now that he had figured this out, things became much easier. He took the dozen or so potato tubers and, according to proper spacing, dug holes about 10 centimeters deep, placed the tuber pieces in with the cut side up, and then covered them with soil. He left 2 to be watered with pure river water, so that he would have relatively normal potato seeds on hand. And he could also give some of the potatoes grown to his family to fill their stomachs. The rest he watered with pure spiritual pool water to see just how big they could grow. Zhang Xiaolong hoped the bigger, the better. When the time came, he could cut them open one by one and plant them throughout the entire spiritual herb field. After finishing all this, there was still no movement in the yard. Zhang Xiaolong was in no hurry to go out. So he washed his hands in the spiritual pool water, then picked a few 5J-sized goji berries and tasted them. It was still the familiar taste, the familiar warm mass of heat in his abdomen, and the familiar pain. The only difference was that the pain was not as intense as last time. Zhang Xiaolong quickly took off his clothes, jumped into the spiritual pool water, and swam beneath the waterfall. Under the pounding force of immense weight, the pain inside his body vanished in an instant. It felt wonderful. Zhang Xiaolong closed his eyes. If there were a bed, he was certain he could fall asleep in a second. With so many goji berries, they couldn't just keep growing in the spiritual herb field forever. In a little while, he would have to harvest them and make room for the potatoes. After standing under the waterfall for 20 minutes, Zhang Xiaolong climbed ashore. His body felt even better, as if he had endless strength. He found a bamboo basket at home and put it into the first level of the pagoda space. Zhang Xiaolong stored the picked goji berries in the basket. The fruit picked from more than 100 goji trees filled the entire basket. The top of the basket was piled into a little peak. If only it could harvest automatically. Ho! The moment Zhang Xiaolong finished speaking, he saw 2 goji berries that had been missed on the trees automatically fall off and fly into the basket. Haha, that's what I thought. The pagoda space ought to have a function like this. Otherwise, harvesting a whole moo of crops entirely by hand would be far too time-consuming. Zhang Xiaolong was excited for a moment and raised his hand to pull out the goji tree. only to discover in surprise that tender shoots had sprouted on it. These were goji leaves. Watching those tender shoots grow at a speed almost visible to the naked eye, Zhang Xiaolong quickly understood. As long as all the fruit on the tree was completely picked, the goji would immediately enter its next growth cycle. Since he had discovered this effect, then these goji trees should be left for now. Zhang Xiaolong watered the goji trees with water from the spirit pool, then left the first level of the pagoda space. From the dirt path at the entrance came bursts of conversation. "Dad, Mom, you're back. You brat, just see if I don't break your legs." "Dad, why would you hit me for no reason? You still have the nerve to ask? Did you almost drown in the pond today?" "Oh, that was just an accident. I'm actually a pretty good swimmer." "Will it kill you not to brag? Who in the whole Zhangzhuang village doesn't know you're a famous landlubber?" "Huh. Ahem, mistake. In his previous life, Zhang Xiaolong was familiar with all kinds of swimming strokes and could hold his breath underwater for 3 to 5 minutes, which was perfectly normal. He had trained that since childhood in the water. But the original owner really was a genuine landlubber. Zhang Baozhu looked fierce and menacing, but in the end he still couldn't bear to slap him. "If you dare go into the river again next time, I really will break your legs." "Dad, I'm not stupid. I understand the principle of learning from mistakes, don't I? That's more like it." While the father and son were talking, Lin Xiaojun had already reheated the porridge that had gone completely cold. All right, isn't our son perfectly fine? Come, hurry up and eat. It's nice and hot." "Thanks, Mom." "You child, since when did you start being polite with your mom?" Lin Xiaojun looked at her son, her face glowing with a happy smile. Zhang Xiaolong took the earthenware bowl and drank from it half-heartedly. Calling the food in the bowl porridge was seriously overestimating it. At best, it could only be called broth, with a few grains of cornmeal added in. "The food in our team canteen is getting worse and worse." Zhang Xiaolong put down the earthenware bowl and couldn't help muttering. Lin Xiaojun sighed and pulled him to sit down, saying with heartache, "Xiaolong, your father and I are useless. We always leave you going hungry. Your dad hasn't had it easy either. He finally managed to raise all 10 of you siblings. And now we've run into famine years." "Sigh, Mom, that's not what I meant. I mean, with the team's food this bad, everyone works all day. How can just drinking this be enough?" Zhang Xiaolong naturally knew the family wasn't well off. The old Zhang family had 10 children. In other families, they would have long since given a few children away for others to raise. That would greatly reduce the burden on the family. Quite a few people in the production brigade had tried to persuade Zhang Baozhu and his wife to do that. In the end, without exception, they all were refused. According to what Zhang Baozhu and his wife said, even if they had to suffer or work themselves to death, they would still raise these 10 sons and daughters to adulthood with their own hands. As for giving them away, that was out of the question. No one was even allowed to bring it up. After suffering for so many years, the 10 children had finally grown up. 5 daughters had gotten married, and 5 still remained unmarried. Over the years, they had suffered far too much, and the couple's health had grown worse and worse. Lin Xiaojun had born and raised 10 children, and her constitution had never been good to begin with. With the bad years of late, she had only gotten worse day by day. In order to support this whole big family, Zhang Baozhu worked himself to the bone outside, often doing the work of several people by himself. As a result, he developed chronic lung disease and often coughed so much he couldn't sleep. Even so, Zhang Baozhu would still occasionally take over shifts for others, in exchange for a potato or a sweet potato or some other food. He couldn't bear to eat it himself and brought it back for Zhang Xiaolong. "Good child, as long as you don't blame your father and mother." Lin Xiaojun held her son in her arms. "It doesn't matter if your mother and I suffer a bit and work a bit harder, as long as you grow up and become sensible." What a simple wish. Zhang Xiaolong was not made of stone. Hearing this, his eyes also brimmed with tears. He turned his head away, forcing himself not to let them fall. In the mountain village at night, there was no entertainment at all. To save a little lamp oil, the oil lamp in Zhang Xiaolong's home was put out early. The east room was where Zhang Baozhu and his wife lived, and the west room was where Lu Feng, Qifeng, Bafeng, and Jiufeng stayed. Zhang Xiaolong's bed had originally been in the west room, but he had forcibly moved it into the main room. This behavior made his sisters burst into laughter again, all praising their little brother for having grown up. Actually, that was only one reason. The main thing was that Zhang Xiaolong needed to go to the first level of the pagoda space. When the time came, if one of his sisters discovered he wasn't in bed, that would be troublesome. In the dead of night, the north wind howled. The cold wind drilling in through the cracks in the wall made bursts of sound like ghostly wails. Zhang Xiaolong secretly felt fortunate that he had the spirit pool water. and that the mutated goji berries had improved his body. Otherwise, it really would have been hard to withstand this piercing cold. In the east room, Zhang Baoju's coughing, one fit after another, came to a brief stop. The breathing of the sisters in the west room also became steady. Zhang Xiaolong opened his eyes, and with a thought, his whole body appeared on the first level of the pagoda space. Just as expected, the potatoes planted at dusk had grown a large patch of potato vines and leaves, green tinged with yellow, a sign that the potatoes had already matured. A total of 16 seed potatoes had been planted, and not a single one had died. All of them had taken root. Zhang Xiaolong walked into the spiritual herb field, and the rich fragrance of potatoes that rushed at him made him lose focus for an instant. He wondered what different surprise the potatoes grown in a level 1 spiritual herb field would bring. Would they be like the goji trees, which not only made the goji berries unbelievably huge, but also gave the goji berries effects beyond imagination? Zhang Xiaolong crouched down, pulled away one potato plant's vines and leaves, and gently scraped open the soil. Round, plump potatoes were revealed. That's not right. This potato plant was watered with 100% spirit pool water, so why are the potatoes it grew the same size as normal potatoes? Strange. The goji trees were exactly the opposite. The higher the concentration of spirit pool water used to water them, the bigger the fruit they produced. Zhang Xiaolong couldn't make sense of it, so he could only shake his head and stop thinking about it, continuing to dig up potatoes. He dug up 17 potatoes in a row, yet new potatoes still kept appearing. In Zhang Xiaolong's memory, one potato plant generally grew 7 or 8 potatoes. At most, it wouldn't exceed 12. At least, he had never heard of one producing more than 12. But this single potato plant in the level 1 spiritual herb field had already yielded 17, completely beyond his understanding. I want to see just how many potatoes it grew. The soil in the level 1 spiritual herb field was extremely loose, and digging through it took almost no effort. 18, 19, 29, 37, 38, 39, 50. Holy shit, it produced a full 50 potatoes. Zhang Xiaolong threw his head back and laughed excitedly. The size of the potatoes hadn't changed, but the yield had clearly increased by more than 5 times. In other words, the level 1 spiritual herb field and spirit pool water would make spiritual herbs grow larger and enhance their medicinal effects. But for crops, they would only increase the yield and would not change their normal shape and size. That meant Zhang Xiaolong no longer had to worry that taking out giant potatoes would scare people. As expected, the yield of the remaining potatoes showed a decreasing trend. The 2 potato plants that had not been watered with spirit pool water at all produced 19 and 20 potatoes respectively. Even so, that was still about twice the yield of potatoes grown in the village fields. With so many potatoes, the level 1 spiritual herb field couldn't be left idle. Zhang Xiaolong busied himself for more than an hour, planting the field full of potatoes. Then he watered them one by one with spirit pond water, just waiting for tomorrow's harvest. There were still more than 200 potatoes left, about 70 to 80 gene. How could he take out the potatoes without making his family suspicious? When there was no food, they went hungry. Now that there was food, he still had to think about where it came from. This really was a happy kind of trouble. Between Zhangzhuang Production Brigade and Lujiazhuang Production Brigade, there was a small mountain hollow. The terrain was fairly secluded, and it was hard for outsiders to find. Zhang Xiaolong had wandered there a few times before, and knew there was black market trading in the small mountain hollow. Tomorrow he'd go take a look there. If he could trade some potatoes for a few things, that would be great. Early the next morning, Zhang Xiaolong got out of bed bright and early, boiled a pot of spirit pond water, and roasted 4 potatoes in the stove. "Six, sister, what smells so good?" "It smells like roasted potatoes." "You two are still dreaming, aren't you? Where would our family get potatoes from?" Zhu Feng, still half asleep, muttered something, turned over, and went back to sleep. "Mom, Dad, Sis, get up and eat." Zhang Xiaolong held ceramic bowls and set them on the 8 Immortals table, pouring the boiled spirit pond water into them one by one. The 4 piping hot roasted potatoes gave off an enticing aroma. The people in the room got dressed and came out curiously to look. "This is roasted potatoes? Jiufeng, are you still saying your 7th sister and I were dreaming?" "Xiaolong, where did the roasted potatoes come from?" Lin Xiaozhen looked suspicious and asked anxiously. "Don't be nervous. These 4 potatoes were all brought back by my dad in exchange for doing work for the team leader. I've been saving them and not eating them." Zhang Baozhu didn't say anything, only nodded. Zhang Xiaolong pulled Lin Xiaozhen down to sit, picked up a potato and peeled it. "Mom, hurry up and eat, or it'll get cold." Everyone sat down around the 8 Immortals table. Lin Xiaozhen's nose stung, and she wiped the corner of her eye with her hand, choking up as she said, "My son has really grown up. He knows to save good food, to eat with mom and dad and his sisters." Lu Feng picked up a potato, peeled it, and held it to Zhang Xiaolong's mouth. "You're still growing, so you have to eat more." "Six, sister. I'm already 16. You don't need to feed me." Zhang Xiaolong's joking and clowning around made his family burst into laughter. There weren't many potatoes, but compared with the watery gruel at the canteen, they were already a rare delicacy. With the spirit pond water, they ate with great relish. "Xiaolong, stay home and get some good rest. Don't go wandering around outside." "Got it, Mom." Zhang Xiaolong stood in front of the door, watching his family's figures gradually recede into the distance. His stomach growled in protest. Just now, in order to let his family eat more, Zhang Xiaolong himself had only taken 2 small bites of potato. There were still 2 roasted potatoes in the stove, and Zhang Xiaolong took them out and ate them while they were hot. After the 2 potatoes went down, he was barely half full. "Let's go check out the black market." Zhang Xiaolong picked up a shabby burlap sack and casually put it into the pagoda space. Following the route in his memory, he headed alone for the black market. The small mountain hollow was about 11 or 12 li from Zhang Xiaolong's home. Taking advantage of the fact that the sky wasn't fully bright yet, Zhang Xiaolong lengthened his stride and hurried toward the black market. The effects of the mutated goji berries really were quite good. After walking more than 10 li, it had only taken him half an hour in total. Zhang Xiaolong marveled that his physical fitness had been greatly enhanced. His face wasn't red, and he wasn't out of breath. Even walking another 30 to 50 li would be no problem. When he was almost at the mouth of the mountain hollow, Zhang Xiaolong hid in the dense grass, slipped into the pagoda space, and packed more than 20 potatoes into the sack. When he appeared again, his face was already covered with a scarf, making his appearance impossible to make out. At the entrance to the mountain pass, 2 burly men were chatting idly, their eyes occasionally glancing around. Clearly, they were keeping watch for black market deals. If they noticed anything wrong, they would immediately blow the whistles hanging around their necks. As soon as the people in the black market heard the whistle, they would flee at once. Zhang Xiaolong's disguise made him look exactly like someone who had come to trade on the black market. So the 2 burly men did not suspect a thing and let him through directly. There was a patch of woods in the mountain pass, and the black market trading took place inside the woods. Carrying his sack, Zhang Xiaolong walked into the woods. People in the woods stood around in 2s and 3s, spread out and leaning against tree trunks, guarding their own stalls. There was a reason this mountain pass had been chosen as the site for black market trading. Although it was somewhat remote, at least there was not much wind in the mountain pass. When the sun came out, the sunlight shone through the bare branches onto people's bodies, making them feel especially comfortable. Zhang Xiaolong strolled around the various stalls once. Some were selling flour, some coarse rice, some eggs, and others pork belly or old hens. Some people were not selling food at all, but winter supplies such as cotton padded jackets and cotton padded pants. He guessed the prices of these clothes would not be cheap. Zhang Xiaolong really wanted to buy some clothes for his family, but with an empty pocket, for now he could only think about it. After looking around, he saw that no one was talking to each other either. Under a big tree, Zhang Xiaolong set down his sack and took out 2 potatoes from inside, placing them on the ground. The people at the surrounding stalls glanced at the potatoes, then quickly looked away. Clearly, they were not interested in potatoes. Black market trading also required money and grain coupons, and Zhang Xiaolong had neither. Only after the potatoes were sold could he obtain money and grain coupons. It was still a little early, and there were not enough people in the woods yet. Zhang Xiaolong sat cross-legged on the dead leaves under the tree, and his consciousness entered the pagoda space. After a whole night had passed, the potatoes had long since ripened. On the goji tree, the 3rd batch of goji berries had also ripened. 5J goji berries hung all over the branches, looking extremely enticing. With a thought from Zhang Xiaolong, the goji berries fell onto the ground beside the basket. As for the potatoes, they were piled up like a small mountain. Normally, 1 mu of land yields about 2,000 jin of potatoes, and the level 1 spiritual medicine field increases production to about 5 times that amount. So this pile of potatoes should weigh around 10,000 jin. With so many potatoes, there was no way they could finish eating them for a very long time. He had to think of a way to sell some of them. "How are you selling these potatoes?" A middle-aged man came to the stall, his hat brim pulled low, covering most of his face. Seeing a customer come by, Zhang Xiaolong immediately smiled and said, "Look at these potatoes of mine. They're all about the same size, and the quality is absolutely beyond question." The middle-aged man nodded, picked up a potato, and examined it. "These potatoes are very fresh, but the quantity is too small. Watching the middle-aged man shake his head with a very regretful look, Zhang Xiaolong was overjoyed. Too few? I was just worrying about how to sell so many potatoes. He looked around and said in a low voice, as long as the price is right, I can still get 1 or 200 jin of potatoes. The middle-aged man's family made tofu. Soybeans were expensive. Using grain coupons to buy 1 jin at the supply and marketing cooperative cost about 8 cents, and it was also hard to buy enough. So they switched to making potato starch vermicelli instead. Potatoes on the black market were only 5 cents per jin, more than half cheaper than soybeans. The middle-aged man said in surprise, price isn't a problem. For 100 jin of potatoes, I'll give you 120 jin of local grain coupons and another 5 yuan. This price is absolutely fair. Zhang Xiaolong calculated it in his mind. The price was pretty good, so he decided to secure this big customer first. All right, how much do you want right now? Don't you only have this much? I want it all. I still have some outside, probably about 200 jin or so. That's great. I want all of it. Wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. Zhang Xiaolong left the small mountain pass, filled an entire sack with potatoes, and returned to the small grove once again. The middle-aged man was also very straightforward. He picked up the sack and was about to go weigh it, but it was so heavy. He tried, yet surprisingly couldn't hoist it onto his shoulder, and was a little embarrassed for a moment. Let me do it instead. Zhang Xiaolong hoisted the sack and walked ahead. The two came to another stall, borrowed a scale, and weighed the potatoes. A total of 219 jin and 8 liang. Here's 10 yuan even, and 2 5-mao bills for you. Let me calculate the grain coupons. No need to go through all that trouble. Just count the grain coupons as 240 jin. You're a straightforward young man, brother. I'm the one taking advantage here. I'll buy from you again next time. Zhang Xiaolong took the grain coupons and money, feeling excited as well. All right, under normal circumstances, how often do you need to buy potatoes? At most once every half month. The vermicelli Lu Laochi, make is something the commune cafeteria often comes to buy as well. The middle-aged man had bought so many potatoes in one go and was in such a good mood that he let it slip and even revealed his own name. Zhang Xiaolong suddenly understood. No wonder. This Lu Laochi had a big customer in the commune cafeteria backing him, so naturally he didn't have to worry about selling his vermicelli. The decision to charge him 20-some jin fewer in grain coupons was extremely wise. Now that the potatoes were sold and he had both money and grain coupons, Zhang Xiaolong put away the sack and wandered around the woods. How much is this pork belly? As he passed a pork belly stall, Zhang Xiaolong stopped, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and asked. In his previous life, his favorite dish had been braised pork, and braised pork made from pork belly was especially delicious. A small bowl of braised pork could go with at least 3 bowls of rice. 1 yuan per jin, plus 2 jin of local meat coupons. My pork belly is fresh, and the flavor is wonderful. Want 2 jin? Seeing a customer had arrived, the stall owner immediately launched into an endless sales pitch. Zhang Xiaolong cursed inwardly. This is really damn expensive. At the supply and marketing cooperative, pork belly only cost 7 mao per jin, and he dared to sell it for 1 yuan. Feeling the 11 yuan on him, Zhang Xiaolong gave up the idea of eating braised pork. Although he had money in his pocket, he didn't have meat coupons, so there was no way he could buy pork belly. Passing by stalls selling coarse grain flour and millet, Zhang Xiaolong bought 10 jin of each, spending 20 jin of grain coupons and 3 yuan. Just as he was about to leave the black market, a fragrance drifted toward him. Following the direction the aroma was coming from, he saw that at some point a wonton stall had been set up at the edge of the woods. Zhang Xiaolong immediately felt a powerful wave of hunger rise in his belly, and he strode over. Boss, how much are the wontons? Vegetable wontons are 1 mao a bowl. Meat-filled wontons are 2 mao a bowl. Give me 1 bowl. No, 2 bowls of meat-filled wontons. All right, sit for a bit first. The wontons will be ready right away. 2 stones with 2 wooden planks laid across them. That was the makeshift table. Zhang Xiaolong sat on the stone and immediately felt a burst of chill. Watching the owner put the wontons into the boiling hot water, where they tumbled a few times, a rich aroma spread in all directions. Very soon, 2 bowls of wontons were served on the table. Zhang Xiaolong picked up a soup spoon, scooped up a wonton, blew on it first, waited for it to cool a little, and then put it into his mouth to chew. It had to be said, this meat filling was truly authentic. Compared with the wontons he had eaten in his previous life, the meaty aroma was stronger and richer. The only slight flaw was the wonton wrappers, which weren't made with refined flour, but with mixed grain flour. Setting that aside, these wontons were incredible. After finishing the last sip of soup, Zhang Xiaolong let out a satisfied burp. He pulled out 2 yuan and tossed it onto the table. "Boss, give me 8 more portions of meat-filled wontons. No need to cook them. I want to take them away packed up." The boss was so happy he couldn't stop smiling. "It's only just opened for business, and I've already run into a big customer. There are 20 wontons in a bowl, so I'll give you 10 extra." Of course, Zhang Xiaolong wasn't about to refuse. He took the craft paper-wrapped wontons and casually put them into the burlap sack. In fact, the sack was just a cover. They had actually already been placed into the first level of the pagoda space. Money wasn't easy to earn, but it was much easier to spend. 11 yuan had, in the blink of an eye, become 5 yuan spent, leaving 6 yuan. He couldn't just spend it carelessly. If some urgent need came up, he couldn't very well ask his family for money. Besides, his family didn't have much money either. Zhang Xiaolong walked out of the woods and was just about to leave the black market when he heard someone behind him ask loudly, "Which brother here has been into the mountains? Does anyone have fresh goji berries for sale?" Zhang Xiaolong's heart stirred, and the footstep he had raised came back down. He had just been worrying about having nowhere to dispose of the goji berries, and now a buyer looking to purchase them had appeared? Wasn't this like someone handing over a pillow just when he was dozing off? Suppressing the wild joy in his heart, Zhang Xiaolong turned back as if nothing had happened and walked into the woods again. The one calling out to the crowd was a middle-aged man wearing a dog fur hat on his head, with a wide brim covering half his face. His sideburns were tightly covered by ear flaps, making it impossible to see what he looked like. The man was wearing a green military overcoat with several patches on it. Clearly, he had been wearing it for years. A burst of discussion arose in the woods. In weather this cold, who would go into the mountains to look for goji berries? They'd heard that a wolf pack had come into the mountains, and someone from the neighboring production team had gone in to gather firewood and been bitten by wolves. At this time of year, even if you went into the mountains, it would be hard to find fresh goji berries. By now, it was fully daylight. Sunlight shone through the sparse branches into the woods. Zhang Xiaolong leaned sideways against a tree, basking in the sun, feeling warm all over. He had plenty of this goji berry stuff. But that didn't mean others did too. He wasn't going to cast out the hawk without seeing the rabbit first. Without an attractive enough price, Zhang Xiaolong had no intention of rashly taking out the goji berries. Sure enough, the man in the military overcoat spoke again. "1 jean. No, I only want half a jean of goji berries. As long as they're fresh, size doesn't matter. I'm willing to trade 10 jean of meat coupons, and on top of that, 20 yuan. Everyone was in an uproar. This price wasn't low. In the towns, each household member only had a monthly supply of 2 liang of fatty pork through meat coupons. And in the entire Shengli commune, only people in town were supplied with meat coupons. Rural residents like those of Zhangzhuang production team had no meat coupon allotment. They could only gaze longingly at meat. In fact, many families couldn't even fill their stomachs. Even if they had a meat coupon allotment, they simply had no spare money to buy pork. In years with good harvests, when the commune had surplus grain to raise pigs, they could at least indulge in eating meat during the new year. But right now the harvest was poor, the fields had yielded badly, and the commune members couldn't even eat their fill, so raising pigs was out of the question. As for the wish of eating meat, they might as well forget it. After waiting for quite a while, the man in the military overcoat still got no response at all. Inevitably, a trace of disappointment showed on his face. He had already gone all over the entire county, not leaving out a single black market. This black market near the mountains was already his greatest hope, and also his last hope. He had no idea how that quack doctor had come up with such a prescription. The other medicines were manageable and had already been prepared. The only thing missing was this last medicine, fresh goji berries. And it was an especially important medicinal catalyst. 15 jean of meat coupons, 30 yuan. I only want half a jean of fresh goji berries. The man in the military overcoat gritted his teeth and named a price that pained him to offer. 30 yuan was equivalent to half a month's wages for him, and the 15 jean of meat coupons had all been traded from others with money or other ration coupons. To get half a jean of fresh goji berries, the price he was paying was extremely high. It wasn't that no one in the woods was tempted, but when they thought about the threat of the wolf pack, most of them gave up. In this season, I'm afraid only deep in the remote mountains and old forests would it be possible to find fresh goji berries. This scared off the rest as well. The man in the military coat was utterly disappointed. It looked like this trip had been for nothing again. Zhang Xiaolong watched him turn around and gradually disappear at the mouth of the mountain hollow. Just as he was about to follow, the corner of his eye caught a sneaky figure, who rushed ahead in pursuit of the man in the military coat. Zhang Xiaolong felt a jolt in his heart. This guy had a shifty, rat-like look, and didn't seem like any kind-hearted person. He was probably harboring ill intentions toward the valuables on the man in the military coat. Thinking this, Zhang Xiaolong's pace did not slow, and he followed along at an unhurried pace. He followed them all the way out of the small mountain hollow, and ahead was an open field. No crops had been planted in the fields yet, making it look somewhat desolate. 200 meters away, the man in the military coat and the shifty-looking fellow got into a fight after exchanging a few words. Before there was even time to watch the whole process, the man in the military coat had knocked the other person to the ground in just a few moves. Then he skillfully reached to his waist. At that very moment, Zhang Xiaolong saw a flash of silver light. That was the reflection of handcuffs in the sunlight. Zhang Xiaolong was startled. The man in the military coat was a police officer. No wonder he was so skilled. The shifty-eyed man's crooked intentions being aimed at him meant he deserved his bad luck. In the end, the man in the military coat did not handcuff that fellow. After kicking him hard a few times and giving him a brutal beating, he barked, "Get lost. If you dare entertain thoughts you shouldn't again, I definitely won't go easy on you." Yes, yes, yes. I wouldn't dare again." The shifty-looking man scurried off in a panic. Zhang Xiaolong was hesitating over whether he should make a deal with the police officer. There were both pros and cons to it. Taking out a bit of goji berries in exchange for 15 jin of meat ration coupons and 30 yuan was absolutely very profitable. But the downside was also obvious. The man in the military coat's true identity was a police officer. And if he himself was trading on the black market, would the officer use that against him? "Kid, you're so young, and you want to be like that guy just now and try to rob me of my things?" The man in the military coat sneered, not stopping as he stepped closer bit by bit. Fortune favors the bold. Who cares what he does? Zhang Xiaolong had made up his mind, and without the slightest hesitation, he reached into the burlap sack and pulled out a handful of the smallest goji berries. In fact, he had taken them out from the pagoda space. The sack was only there to fool onlookers. The man in the military coat had mistaken Zhang Xiaolong for a highway robber and was ready to take him down in one move. But who would have thought the other party would pull out a handful of bright red things instead? Was this meant to bribe him? Humph. A half-grown kid from a mountain village has actually learned underhanded tricks too. Doesn't he know what kind of person I, Lu Juanzhong, am? Would I covet such a petty advantage? Wait, what he's holding is goji berries? After searching high and low only to find nothing, it appears with no effort at all. Lu Juanzhong's anger vanished in an instant, and he stared at the bright red goji berries in wild delight as he said, "Little brother, I was wrong just now. I shouldn't have made wild guesses and taken you for a bad person. You're overthinking it, big brother. If it were me, I would have had the same thought. Do you think my goji berries are fresh enough?" Zhang Xiaolong shook the goji berries in his hand. Though they were the smallest ones, they were still 1 or 2 times larger than ordinary ones, about the size of peanuts. Lu Juanzhong hurried forward impatiently, carefully extending his palm and asking, "Can I hold them in my hand and take a look?" "Of course, you can also taste one." "I can really taste one." Zhang Xiaolong smiled and placed the goji berries in his hand onto the other party's palm. "Of course, feel free to try them." Lu Juanzhong didn't stand on ceremony either. Looking at the goji berries in his hand, his eyes shone. This time, the trip had finally not been in vain. He picked up a goji berry and put it in his mouth to chew. His eyes lit up at once. "Your goji berries are not only huge, they taste delicious too. Even better than apples." Zhang Xiaolong sneered inwardly. "You're this thrilled over this lowest grade stuff? What a bumpkin. If I let you feast your eyes on 5J goji berries, wouldn't you be so shocked you'd have a heart attack? Of course they taste good. I picked this top-grade stuff in the deep mountains. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say I snatched food from the jaws of tigers, leopards, and wolves. You're not from the mountains, so you don't know what the deep mountains mean. So even if I told you, you wouldn't understand." Lu Juanzhong smiled awkwardly. "To be honest with you, I'm not from the mountains. As you said, I really don't know much about the situation there. But don't worry, these goji berries are so big, and the quality is beyond question. How about this?" He paused and secretly gritted his teeth. "I'll add another 5 jin of meat coupons and 10 yuan. What do you think of that price?" Zhang Xiaolong said nothing. Thinking, he said this is a medicinal primer, so buying goji berries probably isn't a one-off deal. Besides, judging from his accent and what he's hinting at, he might be a city policeman with a wide network of connections. If I fleece him so badly in one go that he gets scared off, my future sales channels might be cut off. For the long term, it'd be better to give him a little margin. Anyway, this is the lowest grade of goji berry, and also the smallest. It only has some effects like boosting energy and refreshing the mind. For example, if you stay up late working overtime, eating this goji berry can help you feel more energetic. As for other medicinal effects, they're negligible, practically non-existent. It can't even compare to the slightly larger kind, about the size of a peanut. Not to mention the goji berries the size of glass marbles, the size of grapes, J grade, JJ grade, JJJ grade, JJJJ grade, and the largest, JJJJ grade. Seeing this, Lu Juanzhong thought he disliked the low price and quickly added, I only brought this much money and meat coupons with me this time. If it really won't do, I'll make up another 5 gene of meat coupons and 10 yuan next time. Zhang Xiaolong took out another handful of goji berries and handed them over. We mountain folk are honest. We don't do this kind of on-the-spot price gouging. Let's stick to the price of 15 gene of meat coupons and 30 yuan, and I'll sell you half a gene. This sudden turn left Lu Juanzhong a bit stunned. Your goji berries are such good quality. I can't cheat you against my conscience either. How about this? He took the goji berries and carefully put them into the canvas bag he carried with him. Then he took out a dagger over a foot long from the bag, with a sheath wrapped in animal hide that looked rather rough. You often go into the mountains to look for mountain goods, and sometimes it's hard to avoid running into fierce beasts. This military bayonet has been with me for years on the battlefield. Now I'm giving it to you. Zhang Xiaolong froze, never expecting this at all. He had clearly intended to give the man a better deal, yet the man ended up giving him a military bayonet. If it had been something else, Zhang Xiaolong wouldn't have cared much. But a military bayonet was different. In this day and age, people don't even have an iron wok at home, much less iron blades. He would always need to go into the mountains to hunt in the future, and a military bayonet would be useful for self-defense. Then many thanks. Zhang Xiaolong didn't refuse. He took the military bayonet without hesitation and put it into the sack, though in reality, he stored it on the first level of the pagoda space. What I gave just now was a bit short. I'll give you the rest. He grabbed 2 more handfuls of goji berries and gave them to the policeman in the army coat. This is all I have, and it's definitely more than half a gene. Lu Juanzhong needed the goji berries, so he carefully put them all into the cloth bag, then took out 15 gene of meat coupons and counted out 30 yuan. Little brother, here are the meat coupons and the money. Count them. No need. Zhang Xiaolong put his hand into his pocket. He actually put the meat coupons and money into the first level of the pagoda space. By the way, I wonder if it's convenient for you to reveal your honorable surname, big brother? After all, if the origin of this military dagger can't be explained clearly, I'm afraid some people in the production brigade will gossip and make false accusations against me. Lu Juanzhong hesitated for a moment, but still told the truth. Little brother, that's a good reminder. This was my oversight. This is Victory Commune, right? Zhang Xiaolong nodded. Lu Juanzhong continued. Director Zhao of the Victory Commune Police Station is my wartime comrade. He also knows this military dagger. If anyone makes an issue of it, just go to him. Just say that Lu Juanzhong from the county bureau gave it to you. Sure enough, just as Zhang Xiaolong had expected, Lu Juanzhong was a police officer from the county town. Since he was fortunate enough to make his acquaintance, he naturally had to firmly seize the opportunity and build a better relationship. Knowing one more friend means having one more path. Zhang Xiaolong had always upheld this philosophy of life. Please forgive me for failing to recognize a great person. So Brother Lu is an officer from the county bureau. I'm from the Zhangzhuang production brigade over there. My name is Zhang Xiaolong. After exchanging names, Lu Juanzhong stopped hiding it, untied his hat, flipped up the brim, and revealed a square face full of righteous vigor. So your brother Xiaolong. Have you been to school? That slightly literary phrase just now piqued Lu Juanzhong's interest. Zhang Xiaolong did not answer directly. I only recognize a few characters. By the way, I still have a treasure here to give to Brother Lu. Seeing him act so mysteriously, Lu Juanzhong was full of doubts and joked. You're just a half-grown kid. What treasure could you possibly have? You'll know after you use it when you get back. Take it. Zhang Xiaolong gave Lu Juanzhong a goji berry slightly smaller than a marble. What is this? Looking at the thing in his hand, Lu Juanzhong really wanted to say it was a goji berry, but in the end he did not say it out loud. You can't blame him either. Who the hell has ever seen a goji berry nearly the size of a marble? Zhang Xiaolong smiled suggestively, patted Lu Juanzhong on the arm, and said in a low voice, To be honest with you, Brother Lu, I found this goji berry near a tiger's den. Eat one before going to sleep at night, and I guarantee you'll feel refreshed and full of energy the next day. Lu Juanzhong sucked in a sharp breath and carefully put away the goji berry like a treasure. No wonder it's grown so big. So it turns out it was from near a tiger's lair. Thanks, little brother. I won't stand on ceremony with you." After chatting for a few more words, Lu Juanzhong was anxious to hurry back to the city, so they parted at the crossroads. Watching Lu Juanzhong's back disappear beyond the distant horizon, Zhang Xiaolong thought, "It seems he still doesn't know what I meant. The function of this thing is hundreds and thousands of times stronger than the blue pill, and it has absolutely no side effects. Brother Lu, tonight you'll know the benefits of this goji berry." Zhang Xiaolong understood this deeply. After all night until dawn. It was like the golden cudgel. Zhang Xiaolong did not return to the black market. If he wanted to buy meat, it was better to go to the supply and marketing cooperative. There was probably more than one person like the one who had just followed Lu Juanzhong in the woods. It was better to be cautious. This time the harvest was pretty good. Less than a pound of goji berries in exchange for 15 jin of meat coupons and 30 yuan. Adding the proceeds from selling potatoes, he now had a total of 220 jin of grain coupons, 36 yuan, and 15 jin of meat coupons. In the entire Zhangzhuang production brigade, at least he was no longer among the very poorest. But the biggest gain was still the military dagger in his hand, along with an immeasurable connection. Now that he had made contact with Lu Juanzhong, perhaps in the future, he could sell potatoes in the city. He put future matters aside for the moment, and as Zhang Xiaolong walked, he began to toy with the military dagger in his hand. He pulled open the rough animal hide sheath, and a gleaming triangular military dagger, flashing with a chilling cold light, appeared before his eyes. The entire triangular military dagger was nearly 40 centimeters long. The handle is about 5 or 6 centimeters. The blade is 32 centimeters long, and the blade's thickness and width are both 1.8 centimeters. All these figures came from memories of his previous life, and he reckoned they should be pretty much accurate, without too much discrepancy. Zhang Xiaolong tried swinging the triangular military spike in his hand a few times, imagining a scene with Japanese devils in front of him, and stabbed out swiftly with one thrust, piercing the little Jap clean through the heart, which filled him with a great sense of satisfaction. This military spike was good in every way. The only flaw was that the handle was too short and didn't fit the hand very well. It also made it hard to put his full strength into it. If he really ran into fierce beasts like wolves, this would become a fatal weakness. One careless mistake, and he could easily get injured or even lose his life. He decided that when he got back, he would figure out a way to install a suitable handle for the military spike. Zhang Xiaolong put all the items he was carrying into the first level of the pagoda space, and the feeling of traveling light was indescribably comfortable. When there was no one on the road, he found a hidden spot, entered the first level of the pagoda space, and planted the potatoes. By the time he got home, his parents and the others had not yet returned from work. Zhang Xiaolong found a fairly hard piece of wood in the firewood pile, took out the triangular military spike, and used the tip to cut away the excess parts. He left only a length of 11 or 12 centimeters, just enough to grip in one hand. He stripped off the bark, then split the wood into 2 halves, and carved a groove in the middle of each half to hold the military spike's tang. After more than 2 hours of tinkering, the handle was finally finished. Zhang Xiaolong picked up one half of the handle, placed the handle of the triangular military spike into the groove, and then covered it with the other half. The two halves joined into one, fitting together perfectly. Zhang Xiaolong wrapped strips of cloth around the handle layer by layer, and 10 minutes later, the handle of the triangular military spike was perfectly completed. Ha ha ha, my craftsmanship is still fairly decent. Zhang Xiaolong was in a very good mood. Holding the military spike, he practiced with it for a while, and it was obviously much easier to handle than before. Then he sighed and muttered to himself, "It's just a pity I don't know martial arts, so I can't fully bring out the advantages of the military spike." After all this busy work, the sky had also grown dark. A burst of footsteps came from the distance. The production team is really too much. After a whole day's work, all we got was a bowl of thin soup, so thin you could count the cornmeal grains in it. Liu Feng's voice complained. Luckily Xiaolong roasted potatoes, otherwise we really wouldn't have made it through. Qifeng followed up at once. That's right, seventh sister, we drank hot water and ate more than half a potato, and after getting through the whole day, we didn't even feel that cold. Bafeng's voice was full of pride. After surviving this disaster, Xiaolong really has changed a lot. I just hope it isn't short-lived. Jiufeng added a comment. They knew their younger brother's usual character all too well. Jiufeng, what kind of flower is this short-lived flower you're talking about? Why haven't I heard of it? Lin Xiaozhen asked. It's a kind of flower that blooms at night and withers after a very short time. Shoo, 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 don't say such unlucky things. Our Xiaolong will definitely keep getting better and better. Listening to his family's conversation, Zhang Xiaolong felt a kind of happiness he had never known before. Don't worry. Since I, Zhang Xiaolong, have transmigrated here, I will definitely live this life well and let all of you enjoy good days without worrying about food or clothing. Lin Xiaojun and her daughters had only just arrived home when Zhang Baozhu also came back right after them. He set down the firewood he was carrying on his shoulder and followed them into the house. Cough, cough. Xiaolong, are you feeling better today? As he spoke, Zhang Baozhu handed over something. Zhang Xiaolong took it and looked. It was actually a wild pheasant egg. Dad, where did this come from? Zhang Baozhu coughed for a while, sat down on the stool to catch his breath, and then said, I picked it up while chopping firewood. It's a pity your dad's body isn't what it used to be. Only when the pheasant flew away did he swing the tree branch in his hand. If it had been a few years ago, this pheasant definitely wouldn't have gotten away, and we'd have meat to eat. There was a hint of sadness in Zhang Baozhu's tone. Zhang Xiaolong felt a pang of sympathy. In order to support this family, he had not only raised all 10 children, but also let them study for a few years, and his body had been worn down as a result. Dad, in my heart, you will always be the strongest. Then he silently added in his heart, Dad, I will definitely restore you to the condition of a man in his prime. Zhang Baozhu smiled knowingly, then shook his head. On his dark skin were several deep wrinkles, making him look very much like an old man in his 60s or 70s. Dad is old and useless now. I've been coughing badly today, and the team leader didn't even have me help him chop firewood, so there are no potatoes either. Dad has let you down, Xiaolong. A person's awareness of their own body carries more weight than anyone else's. Zhang Baozhu was exactly like that. The human body is not like a machine. It can't keep working forever. Even a machine itself needs regular inspection and maintenance, and it needs motor oil for lubrication. But Zhang Baozhu, who had labored under overload for so long, not only had no chance to catch his breath over the past year or so, he had often not had enough to eat, and his body had long since been severely overdrawn. Zhang Baozhu knew his body was failing. A surge of warmth welled up in Zhang Xiaolong's heart. To have such a caring father, what more could one ask for in this life? And there was also his mother's affection, his sister's doting, his grandparents. These were the greatest treasures of Zhang Xiaolong's life. Dad, don't worry unnecessarily. Everything will get better. Zhang Xiaolong changed the subject. Today, I picked some goji berries at the foot of the mountain and just happened to run into people from the city offering a high price for them. He roughly explained what had happened, of course only the unimportant parts, without revealing a single piece of important information. Some secrets are better known by fewer people. Even for the closest family, the same was true. That way, it would also save them from worry and fear. Here are 10 jin worth of meat coupons, 20 yuan, and 100 jin worth of grain coupons. Zhang Xiaolong didn't take everything out, afraid of scaring his family. In the first level of the pagoda space, there were still 5 jin worth of meat coupons, 16 yuan, and 120 jin worth of grain coupons left. Even though he had been somewhat conservative, the family was still stunned. Zhang Baozhu, Lin Xiaojun, Lu Feng, Qi Feng, Ba Feng, and Zhu Feng all stared at Zhang Xiaolong with their eyes wide open, without blinking. Zhang Xiaolong smiled a little awkwardly. Mom, I'll leave all this to you. Go to the commune tomorrow and buy some meat back so the family can improve our meals a bit, and let my dad nourish himself too. He stuffed the money, the meat coupons, and the grain coupons into Lin Xiaojun's hands. Where had Lin Xiaojun ever seen so much money? So many grain coupons? Meat coupons? The family couldn't even come up with 2 yuan. But her own son had earned back so much all at once. How could she not be overjoyed, crying tears of happiness? Son, my good son, you've really grown up. Mom. The 4 daughters also crowded around and embraced Lin Xiaojun, crying. Zhang Baozhu was happy too. Just 2 days ago, Zhang Xiaolong's reputation in Zhangzhuang Brigade was that he was gluttonous and lazy, an idler, notoriously foul. Who would have thought that after going through a brush with death and narrowly surviving, he would become so sensible and know to care for his parents and family? Blessed by the ancestors of the Zhang family, Xiaolong has become so sensible. Even if I, Zhang Baozhu, die now, I can die with no regrets. Zhang Xiaolong looked at this one, then that one, not knowing for a moment which one to comfort first. He could only point to the kitchen and say, Ahem, I bought some wontons at the market, along with some mixed grain flour and rice, and I also bought 100 jin of potatoes. That should be enough for the family to eat for quite a while. All sounds stopped once again, and 6 pairs of eyes stared at Zhang Xiaolong without blinking. They had thought there had already been enough surprises, but unexpectedly, there was another one. They were shocked once again. The things were all there. Following the direction Zhang Xiaolong pointed, sure enough, there was a pile of potatoes, as well as mixed grain flour and rice. On top of the flour were wontons wrapped in craft paper. Dad, Mom, Sis, you all rest first. I'll go cook wontons for you to eat. Watching Zhang Xiaolong's frail figure walk over and sit by the stove, he then skillfully poured water into the earthen pot and lit the fire. Everyone except Jiufeng was baffled. When did Xiaolong learn how to start a fire? Son, you know how to cook wontons? Our family has never cooked wontons before, right? Zhang Xiaolong did not answer directly. Oh, I saw the people at the wonton stall cook them, so I learned. Ninth sister, help me get some potatoes, and I'll roast potatoes for you all. Bring a few more. Let's eat our fill tonight, so we won't wake up hungry in the middle of the night. And then our stomachs will growl, making it impossible to sleep. Ha! His vivid words made everyone burst into laughter. The laughter was full of joy. Bowl after bowl of wontons was set on the table, and the rich aroma was so enticing that everyone nearly swooned and drooled. Jiufeng couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva, and her stomach rumbled a few times too. That made everyone laugh again. Jiufeng stamped her foot in embarrassment. Stop it, you're all laughing at me. Ninth sister, eat up. And sixth sister, seventh sister, eighth sister, you all need to eat more too, so you can become fair and plump, and then let's see if those matchmakers still dare to despise you for being too thin and be unwilling to arrange matches for you. Xiaolong, are you trying to reach the heavens? Making fun of the four of us sisters, Lu Feng said with an annoyed smile. Zhang Xiaolong took a bite of roasted potato, chewed a few times, and said, Sixth sister, that's not what I meant. Anyway, when you look for partners in the future, I have to carefully vet them for you. The four golden flowers of our Zhang family aren't there for just anyone who wants to pick. When Zhang Baoju's first 5 daughters were married off, the harvests in the fields were still fairly good, and there was no such thing as going hungry. So his 5 pretty daughters were not that thin, and they all got married at the right age. But in the past 2 years, the harvests had been poor, and the Zhang family had many mouths to feed. While Zhang Baoju and his wife were also in poor health, Zhang Xiaolong and his 4 younger siblings had not had enough to eat all year round. They were all so skinny they were like sticks, as if a gust of wind could knock them over. Zhang Lufeng was 20 this year, Zhang Qifeng 19, Zhang Bafeng 18, and Zhang Jiufeng 17. In a mountain village, they were all of marriageable age. But no matter how Lin Xiaozhen asked matchmakers around, no one was willing to arrange matches for them. And so it dragged on until now. The reason was that people looked down on how poor the Zhang family was. And the daughters were all so skinny that they looked like the sort who couldn't bear children. Later, the matter gradually spread, becoming gossip and a joke after meals in the Zhangzhuang production brigade. On Zhang Xiaolong's somewhat youthful face was a resolute expression that gave people the feeling that he would do what he said. Zhang Baoju and Lin Xiaozhen showed a trace of worry on their faces. Of their 4 daughters, Lu Feng was already 20, relatively old in age, and it would be hard to find her a good family. As for the remaining 3, if they didn't find husbands in time, it would become a constant source of worry in the future as well. Their son was speaking with absolute certainty, but perhaps he was only trying to comfort them. How could a mere 16-year-old half-grown boy possibly have any way to handle a girl's marriage? The atmosphere fell into a brief gloom. Zhang Xiaolong understood as well. A beardless mouth means unreliable work, such was the old saying. Who could know that he was a transmigrator, and that adding together the ages of his 2 lifetimes, he was already over 40? Plus the several extra decades of social experience and development he had, settling his sister's marriages would be a piece of cake. Zhang Xiaolong would not reveal a single word of these secrets. Time would prove everything. After a brief silence, the atmosphere returned to normal. More than 20 roasted potatoes, and a bowl of wontons for each person. Everyone ate until their bellies were round. Little brother, I haven't eaten this full in a long time. Thank you. Sixth sister, why are you being so polite with me? What sixth sister said is from the heart. All right, I'll go wash the dishes. The other sisters tidied up the bowls and chopsticks and followed along to wash them too. Zhang Xiaolong could clearly feel that his status in the family had become different. His sisters had already doted on him before, and from now on they probably would even more. Fortunately, because he insisted, he changed his clothes himself. Zhang Baoju and his wife had been tired all day, so they washed up and went to rest. That night, in the shabby 3-room house, there was, for the first time ever, no rumbling from hungry stomachs. Lying in bed, Zhang Xiaolong felt a sense of accomplishment he had never experienced before. He thought again of his grandparents, and also of his second uncle's family. It wasn't that Zhang Xiaolong didn't want to bring them wontons, but his second uncle's home, the old Zhang family ancestral house, was in the village. There were too many people there and too much gossip, making it easy for trouble to arise. The aroma of wontons couldn't be hidden. Wanting the surrounding neighbors not to notice was practically a fool's dream. People are less troubled by scarcity than by inequality. Zhang Xiaolong understood that all too well. Tomorrow he would bring them some potatoes. Everyone ate those often, and compared with meat-filled wontons, they would cause far less of a stir. If anyone gossiped, Zhang Xiaolong could also say with complete confidence, "Can't my family spend a few yuan to buy dozens of jin of potatoes?" In the night, Zhang Xiaolong entered the first level of the pagoda space once, harvested the mature potatoes and goji berries, and replanted potatoes. Then he leisurely ate more than a dozen 5J goji berries, and went beneath the waterfall for a nice, comfortable massage. That feeling, absolutely amazing. Early the next morning, a fine drizzle began to fall from the sky. The trip to the commune to buy meat was therefore delayed. Jufeng brought back a pot of thin porridge from the production team's canteen. It was not much different from last night's, watery and unappetizing. Ninth sister, is the team out of grain? Why is today's porridge so much worse than yesterday morning's? The team leader said that since it was raining and no one could go to work, staying home and lying around was enough, so there was no need to eat too full. No need to eat too full? Listen to that. When have we ever eaten our fill? Forget it. Let's not bother with that nonsense. Anyway, our family has food. Thanks to little brother being smart and lucky, we can finally eat a full meal. When did your pants get another hole in them? Change them out later, and I'll patch them for you. Ah, got it. It was still roasted potatoes, eaten with the thin porridge from the canteen, and the whole family ate happily. Zhang Xiaolong finished breakfast in a few bites and said, "Dad, Mom, sisters, take your time eating. I'll bring some roasted potatoes to Grandma and Grandpa." After saying this, without waiting for his family to answer, Zhang Xiaolong dashed out of the house in a flash. "Hey, it's raining outside, and this child doesn't even know to put on something to keep off the rain," Lin Xiuzhen said reproachfully. Lu Feng and the others wanted to chase after him, but how could they possibly catch up? Zhang Xiaolong's figure was already nowhere to be seen. My Xiaolong is filial. He's even thinking of his grandparents, and his second uncle and second aunt too. Zhang Baozhu felt an unprecedented sense of ease. The drizzle was not heavy, but it was dense. Although Zhang Xiaolong was fast, by the time he reached the village, the outer layer of his clothes was already half soaked. Even from 2 houses away, he could hear someone cursing loudly. The voice seemed to be coming from his second uncle's house. Zhang Xiaolong quickened his steps, and sure enough, he saw a crowd gathered at his second uncle's door. They were all just there to watch the spectacle, and from time to time, some even egg things on. Zhang Xiaolong's good mood instantly sank to rock bottom, and his face darkened as well. Then he heard a cracked, gong-like voice in the crowd cursing. "If you won't let me cut in line, why don't you take a look at what kind of thing you are? A barren thing that can't bear children. You're the only one like that in the whole Zhangzhuang production team." The voice was very distinctive. One could tell at once it was Widow Wang from next door to second uncle's house. Carrying the sack, Zhang Xiaolong pushed through the crowd and saw Widow Wang standing with her hands on her hips, eyes wide with fury, glaring at second aunt inside the house. Her eyes looked as if they were about to spit fire. Her hair was disheveled, and a few strands whipped wildly in the wind and rain, adding even more shrewishness and arrogance to her appearance. Widow Wang was spewing filthy curses from her mouth. "Zhang Baoqiang, you bastard, you spineless coward. If you've got any guts, divorce this woman who can't lay eggs." Someone softly tried to persuade her. "Widow Wang, cutting in line was your fault, and now you've even come to their doorstep to curse them. Besides, you've already said your piece, so hurry up and go back." How could Widow Wang possibly give anyone a chance to persuade her? She twisted around and raised a hand to point at the person's nose. "Don't pretend to be a good person here. I, Widow Wang, am not someone easy to bully." Seeing this, the person shook his head and said no more. Widow Wang felt even more pleased with herself, her eyes sweeping over the crowd like a haughty rooster. Well, unfortunately, she was female. Inside the house, Zhang Baoqiang remained sullenly silent, while Li Xiaohua sobbed softly. Widow Wang shifted her fire and continued staring at Li Xiaohua as she cursed. "Li Xiaohua, you cheap slut who can't lay eggs. You're not even as good as the old hen my family keeps. It lays eggs every day." Zhang Baoqiang had been married to Li Xiaohua for more than 20 years, and the two of them had never had children after getting married. They had never gone to the hospital to find out the reason, either. With one delay after another, they ended up over 40, and to this day, they still have no sons or daughters. "Wang, don't think that just because you're a widow, You can throw tantrums whenever you want. At the team canteen, you cut in line because you wanted to grab some advantage and get a little extra, didn't you? My second aunt didn't make way for you. And so you used such vicious words to curse her? That's simply twisting the facts. Zhang Xiaolong stepped forward and snapped back irritably. Widow Wang had been throwing her weight around for quite a while, and no one had dared come out to challenge her. She had been feeling immensely pleased with herself, so when someone suddenly gave her a head-on blow, she was a bit stunned for a moment. You carry on like this, saying the most vicious things in the world. Your dead husband probably can't rest easy underground either. Zhang Xiaolong continued his relentless tirade. Zhang Xiaolong, you dare curse OL. So what if I curse you? I'll even hit you for a sharp-tongued, vicious widow like you. Cursing you is already letting you off easy. Don't think the honest people in the team are easy to bully. Everyone is only letting you off because you're a widow and doesn't want to stoop to your level. Yet you rely on your status as a widow not only to show no restraint, but to make scenes everywhere. Whenever you curse people, you always pick on their sore spots. But I won't indulge you. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaolong stepped forward and slapped her hard twice across the face. His verbal onslaught was as fierce as a tiger, drawing rounds of cheers from the people around them. I really couldn't tell. This boy from Baozhu's family actually makes a lot of sense. Xiaolong really knows how to talk. He said everything I wanted to say in my heart. In our Zhangzhuang production team, who hasn't gone easy on Widow Wang because she's just a woman on her own, but instead, she's treated our kindness as weakness. Xiaolong said it well, and those slaps were even better. I'll applaud you. One of his clansmen uncles, not too distantly related, took the lead in clapping. The people around them also followed, applauding and cheering. Seeing that everyone was taking Zhang Xiaolong's side, Widow Wang covered half her face. Fear had crept into her heart, yet she still said, "Your whole family is a bunch of poor men. And you're not letting me cut in line because you want to grab some dry goods to take back and eat, right? And you still have the nerve to laugh at me, a widow?" Zhang Xiaolong let out a cold laugh and lifted the sack in his hand. Our family may be poor, but poverty doesn't mean we have no backbone. My second aunt lined up according to the rules set by the team. Was that wrong? Besides, it's true that our family is poor, but at least we still have a few coins to buy potatoes. Widow Wang stared fixedly at the sack and said disdainfully, "Don't try to fool people here. I'm not blind. If someone else said that, I'd believe it. But your family, you're poor as dirt, and you still have money to buy potatoes? What a daydream." Zhang Xiaolong took a potato out of the sack, then shook his head. "Just one won't do, or you blind woman will say there's only one in the bag." He rolled up the sack, revealing nearly half a sack of potatoes. Then with a flick of his hand, he landed 2 more hard slaps on Widow Wang's other cheek. "Widow Wang, open your blind eyes and take a good look. What else do you have to say now?" Widow Wang only felt her whole face burning with pain, her eyes full of disbelief. As she looked at those potatoes, feeling worse than if her own mother had died, the crowd broke into another round of ridicule. That boy from the Zhang family has some tricks. It's no easy thing to make Widow Wang suffer a loss. Widow Wang, should we start calling you Blind Wang from now on? Maybe blind with eyes open suits you better. Widow Wang stamped her foot viciously. Unable to withstand the public anger, she went back fuming. The onlooking commune members gradually dispersed. Zhang Xiaolong went into the house. "Second uncle, second aunt, don't get angry with this kind of person. It's not worth hurting your own health over it." "Xiaolong, second aunt thanks you. I was feeling all blocked up just now, but now I feel relieved. Unlike your second uncle, who's like a mute gourd and doesn't even dare let out a fart." Li Xiaohua wiped away her tears and glared at her husband. Her nephew was still the better one. He had slapped Widow Wang a few times and helped her vent her anger. Zhang Xiaolong quickly tried to smooth things over. "Second aunt, calm down. My second uncle is an honest man. Wasn't that exactly what you liked about him in the first place? All right, I also brought a few roasted potatoes. Hurry and eat them while they're hot." The fragrant potatoes still remained in the exact state they had been in when they were first placed into the first level of the pagoda space. Zhang Baoqiang and his wife hurriedly declined. "Xiaolong, we're not hungry. Take them back home. You don't want them? Then I'll throw them away. You child, how can you waste food? Then hurry up and eat." "Ah, you child, satisfied." Zhang Xiaolong walked into his grandparents' room. In the dim west room, the old lady was lying on the bed sulking. Grandpa Zhang Laojian sat by her side, sighing. "My eldest grandson is here. Come sit by Grandma." Zhang Xiaolong walked to the bedside and sat down. He peeled a roasted potato and brought it to the old lady's mouth. "Grandma, hurry and eat it while it's hot. It's really fragrant."